Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Salah, wake up, Jama'ah. Still. It's better the beginning of the night. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira thumma amma ba'd. If you ask women, particularly mothers, if you ask women, mothers in particular, what are the 2 top qualities they would like to have in a house? Or let me put it, specifically in a home. What are the top 2 qualities women would like to have in a home or a place that you could call home? The top 2 qualities. I'm going to give you 1 minute for the guys to discuss this with the person sitting next to you. Pair up together. Discuss that with the person next to you. What are the top 2 qualities any woman desires to have in a place to call home? And I would like also the ladies to discuss that together. You guys, I want to see if you guys are syncing together information over here. I want to see if men understand what women really desire in a home. Bismillah, go for it. I'll give you 1 minute. Go ahead.
Please, please do the one, yes. Please, I will do the one, yes. And like stability, like peace in a house, like
Even those who are not married, guys, you know your mothers. What do they like to have in home? Go ahead. So you guys seem like you found the answer. That's why you're getting quiet right now. Let me see the guys. What do you guys find? What are the top 2 qualities women they would like to have in a place they can call home? What are they? Can you help me?
Peace.
I'm hearing peace. Ladies, I'm going to come to you, but the guys are saying peace, number 1. 2, security. What else?
Caring.
Appreciation.
Huh?
Caring.
What does that mean? Caring. Okay, what else? Trust.
Appreciation.
Appreciation.
Honesty.
Loving and caring son.
Loving and caring son or husband, basically.
Honesty.
Honesty. Yes. You see, because these kids, they receive messages from their mothers different than the husbands, right? What else? Guys, tell me, what do these women want to have in a house or in a home?
Always within sight.
Always inside? Okay.
We're never alone.
Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Okay, now let's hear from the ladies. Ladies, tell me, what exactly you want to have, the top 2 qualities you would like to have in a home? Huh? Say it again. Peace. What else? Understanding. Peace. Deen. What else? Okay, you know what? Not bad. We're getting almost 50% of the answer. We're getting 50% of the answer. Subhanallah. You know, the best place that you really call home is the place that you call Jannah. Jannah. You want a place to be like Jannah. When someone wants to describe a place where they find themselves in it, comfortable and so on, what do they say? Oh, I'm in heaven. This place is heaven. Why is it heaven exactly? Because they find specific qualities in that place. And that's exactly what both men and women, they like to have and desire to have in a place they call home. But when it comes to women, particularly they're looking for specific qualities, particularly 2 qualities. Where are we going to get these qualities from? Better than the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Let's see. One day, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told Khadija, Ya Khadija, Hada Jibreel. I have Jibreel came. He just came right now. Hada Jibreel yuqri'uki salam. Hada Jibreel yuqri'uki salam. So Jibreel was saying salam to you. And then he said to her that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending salam upon Khadija radiallahu anha. Allah is sending salam upon Khadija. Khadija, the smart, intelligent woman, she didn't say wa alayhi salam and may peace be upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can he even say peace be upon Allah azza wa jal if he was peace himself subhanahu wa ta'ala? One of his names is what? As-salam. As-salam. So she said, قالت Allahu salam wa minhu salam. Says Allah, He Himself is peace, and peace comes from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Jibreel gave the news to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam to convey to Khadija, قال وبشرها ببيت في الجنة. You gave her the good news that she shall have a house in Al-Jannah. وبشرها ببيت في الجنة. What are the qualities of this house in Al-Jannah? Do you guys remember the hadith?
قصب.
في بيت من قصب. The house is just like a nice, beautiful, fancy tent made of qasab. Qasab, which is basically pearl. Beautiful pearl. It's beautiful, fancy, beautiful, nice house. But that's not that's not home yet. This is only house. You can build as big, as huge, beautiful, expensive houses as much as you want. It doesn't bring home to you. It only gives you a house, gives you shelter, gives you a roof where you can protect yourself from the heat, from the cold, from the rain, from the whatever, from the weather. It can protect you from that. It does not guarantee a home for you at this house. But what does guarantee a home to you? He said to her, قال ببيت من قصب. That house that is made of pearl in Al-Jannah. لا صخب فيه ولا نصب. Two things. لا صخب فيه ولا نصب. Sakhab, the Arabic word sakhab means what? Means noise. Means it's not rowdy. And if you ask what women really desire most to have at home is peace. Just be quiet. Keep the kids down. I want to just take 5 minutes nap. I'm too tired. He said, just give me 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes of peace and tranquility. Just one day without fighting. One day without having to worry about all the stuff. One day without having to worry about the kids and so on. Just one day. If she can ask for that, she said, I need one day without that. بِبَيْتٍ مِّن قَصَبٍ لَا صَخَبَ فِيهِ. Doesn't have any noise. It's not loud. It's not. It doesn't make the music, subhanAllah, irritated so much. Why is that, ya ikhwan? Because the noise really makes you irritated and it really, really makes you exhausted. How come? The brain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the brain to operate and function in amazing ways. One of these ways is that any sound that you have around over here, believe it or not, the brain operates to process that sound. Whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, needed or not needed, eventually, if it's something around you, if you can hear it, the brain is processing it. That's why, as I'm speaking to you, your brain is processing another sound. You know what what sound is? The fan. And that's why, even when I'm speaking, you feel sometimes exhausted and tired because you're trying to focus on this guy, what he's saying, but there's another noise in the background. I'm not saying to turn it on though. Just keep it on. All I'm saying is that this is how it is, subhanAllah. And that's why if you become ever a frequent traveler, one of the beautiful things you buy with you carry with you when you travel, these nice, beautiful, big earphones that kills the sound outside. You just turn it on, and it has a mechanism that completely eliminates and cancels all the noise outside. Why? Because when you travel 2-3 hours, even though you haven't done anything, you were just sitting on the chair, on the seat. By the time you arrive there, you're extremely exhausted. Why is that? Because your brain was working, functioning, processing all this sound and noise that comes from the engines and so forth. That is la sakhaba fi. The word sakhab, even sakhaba, put them together in the Arabic language, sakhab is actually the sound of the loud noise, basically. This by itself, it gives the impression of having loud noise. Sa, that's very strong sound. Kha and ba, sakhab. So the first thing, that there is no sakhab in that house. What is the second quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given Khadija radiallahu ta'ala, house in Al-Jannah? The first one, there is no sakhab, no loud noise, nothing to worry about in this regard. Wala nasab. The other quality women they would like to have in a home. Wala nasab. The word nasab means fatigue. Fatigue, tiredness. That means they don't want the house they have to worry about work in them. Doesn't your wife keep telling you, just give me one day of the week off? One day off. And the guy said, why do you need one day off? What do you do anyway to worry about it? Subhanallah. You know, ya ikhwa, wallahi, I really, really appreciate mothers. Women in general right now, particularly mothers, I appreciate these mothers for everything they've done. The reason for that is because for some personal reason, I have been actually a single father for my children, my 3 kids, 14, 12, and 10 years old children for the past 4 months. By choice. My wife actually is overseas for family reasons and so forth. She's taking care of things over there. She'll be back soon, inshallah ta'ala. I never thought this is going to be a very hard, difficult task. Wallahi, I never thought that. But subhanAllah, now that I see what women go through, I understand. I understand why women keep, worrying about things, complaining, feeling difficulty, fatigue, tiredness, and all that stuff and so on. No wonder. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day of the year. They don't take days off, Jama'ah. You as a guy, you work from 7 to 5 or 4, whatever. You come back from work. Alhamdulillah, I've done my job. Now it's time to chill out for you. And chill out for her is another job. That's part 2. Specifically if you have children. She takes care of the children for part 1, and then part 2 when you come back. And you expect everything to be perfect. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha shall be granted that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in Jannat al-Firdaus. And may Allah give every single Muslim woman that house in Al-Jannah. Ameen. A house that has no sakhab wala nasab. That they don't worry about noise, they don't worry about doing anything. Even if something spills on the floor, it's magically will be cleaned, inshallah, in Al-Jannah. Until then, they have to worry about it in the dunya. That's one thing. When it comes to the house, just like I said, the house is the outside structure. The home is the inside structure. That is the quality of life. Many husbands, they worry so much about superficial aspects of life. These superficial aspects of life, like the furniture, the house, the size, all that stuff and so on. They worry about that so much, and every time their wives complain about the quality of life that they provide for them, they're saying, what's wrong with you? I'm going from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. Don't you know that I'm doing all this for you? And she says, you're just bringing things. You're not bringing life to us. These things that you call life, these just materialistic things. They don't necessarily provide a quality of life. Keep that in mind, ya ikhwan. So if you worry so much about that, one day you're going to realize that I've worked so much, but I couldn't build really a home. I only built a house. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your houses homes in this dunya and the akhirah. In a sense that it brings you peace and tranquility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about now the inner structure of the house, home. Allah azza wa jal says about قَالَوْ مِنْ آيَاتِهِ. And among His signs is this. Among His signs, meaning the miracles of Allah azza wa jal. أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. That He had created for you from amongst yourselves azwaj. Azwaj means spouses. Why is that? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. This is the key word over here. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. The word second means peace and tranquility. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. To bring you serenity. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. That when you come back from work, you find peace with them. And when you come back from work, they find peace with you. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He placed between your heart mawadda and rahmah. The word mawadda is 1 degree of love. You know the word love in the Arabic language, which is hub, comes in different shades. One of these shades is actually tranquility, peace, mercy. And some of it is actually related to what? To lust, desires, and so forth. I have many, many shades. And one of the shades of love is the word mawadda. The difference between the word love and mawadda is that mawadda is the kind, soft, tender love. It's not the lustful one. It's the kind, soft, tender love which is close to romantic. Close to that romantic thing. Those are what we see in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The mawadda between him and his wife radiyallahu ta'ala alayhim wa allahum. Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every time he comes into the house, the first thing he starts with, cleaning his mouth with his miswak. The first thing he cleans his mouth, to clean his mouth, to refresh his breath basically. And then what? Then he approaches her and he kisses her. What do you guys call this? The welcome kiss. Some people they say, Astaghfirullah. I've never seen my dad doing that yet. You don't have to. Rasulullah, he did that. And if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did that, why don't you, whenever you come home, the first thing you do, you make sure that you have something in your pocket, whatever in the car, to refresh your breath, and then approach your wife. That doesn't have to end with anything extra. Only just a tender kiss. That's it. And then she said, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, كان صلى الله عليه وسلم كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبل بعض أزواجه وهو صائم ثم يخرج إلى الصلاة. Sometimes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to kiss some of his wives. He used to kiss some of his wives sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he's fasting, on his way out to the masjid to the salah. Imagine someone fasting, going to the salah, and he kisses his wife on the way out. What kind of kiss is it going to be? It's that beautiful, tender, gentle kiss. It's not that lustful kiss. It's that beautiful, gentle, kind. And that's what I mean by the word mawadda. That you have that nice, beautiful, tender heart that's filled with love for your spouse. Wa rahma. The word rahma is the counterpart of that love. You know, in reality, when it comes to the reality of marriages and family life, not all relations are running on love, right? How many relations you guys know? How many relations you know? That, subhanAllah, it's amazing how they're still holding on together. Sometimes it's in your family. Like you see your father and mother, they've been married for 50 years perhaps. Every time you see them, they fight. And when they fight, but when they separate, they start calling each other, how are you doing? Are you okay? And so on. And you wonder, subhanAllah, how is this happening in life? Because they're really running perhaps on mercy, not necessarily on love. They're running on mercy. When you ask a lady who's having a hard time with her husband, why are you still staying with him after all these years? She goes, Wallahi, I feel sorry for him. Because I know if we divorce, I know he's clumsy. He's not going to survive long again after me. He's not going to be able to make his food, his clothes, blah, blah, blah. He's staying with him fi sabilillah. That's mercy. Wallahi, that's mercy. And it's reality that some marriages, unfortunately, running on mercy. And other relations, it's completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. That you will find them, they're running on romance. And they think this is everything in life. Unfortunately, it doesn't last long. It doesn't last long. And that's not the reality of life. When it comes to marriage, it has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between mawadda and rahmah. So when the mawadda somehow is being compromised in the relationship for whatsoever reason, at least rahmah is a shield that carries the ship, inshaAllah ta'ala, until we reach safety and then rekindle love afterward. And move on. And sometimes when mercy is not the thing, it's love that might hold them together until, subhanAllah, somehow in a situation, they'll find that rahmah among themselves. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Why do we have conflicts in the house? Why do the husband and wife fight? Why do the kids fight with their parents? What's the problem? There is no doubt that the shaitan is the first thing. We know that. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ أَلَا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ قَدْ يَئِسَ أَن يُعْبَدَ فِي أَرْضِكُمْ هَذِا. The shaitan is becoming desperate to be worshipped on earth. You need to know that. Shaitan has no hope to be worshipped. He has no hope to be rival to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense. قَتَلَهُ اللَّهِ. However, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَلَكِنْ رَضِيَ بِالتَّحْرِيشِ بَيْنَكُمْ. He is just satisfied بِالتَّحْرِيشِ بَيْنَكُمْ. The word tahrish, that means to instigate conflict and hate. Instigate conflict and hate. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't like to see you together, particularly husband and wife. But one of the hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that on the end of the day, every single day almost, ash-shaytan yajlisu ala arshih. The shaitan, he has a throne. And that throne is basically imitating qatalahu Allah, the throne of Ar-Rahman. And he has the shayateen around him, all his team, and all his basically, and he's the supervisors and so on, they all get together. And he started asking, okay, tell me what you guys have done today. Let me see, who did something great today? So this guy, he said, I stayed with him until I made him do so and so. I stayed up after him until I made sure that he would commit so and so. Talking about sins. I stayed behind this guy until he committed zina, until he stole this money, until he killed this, until he watched pornography, until he just keep counting and counting and counting, and the shaitan keeps telling these people, قَالَ مَا صَنَعْتَ شَيْئًا. You've done nothing. That's nothing. Well, I have to stay behind him until I made him use so and so. you've done nothing, you've done nothing. Until one of them, he says, I kept harassing him, stayed after him, until I made him divorce his wife. The shaitan then he says, قَالَ أَنْتَ. You're the one, come over here. Bring him next to me. That's the one. Subhanallah. The shaitan would not like to have peace and tranquility in the house. Why? Because peace and tranquility means what, ya jama'ah? Means strong families. Strong families means, inshallah, good worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we have that righteous community and righteous society. Do you really think the shaitan will be happy to see the children of Adam better than him in worship? He was cast out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of one single sajda, prostration. One single sajda. And then he vowed to challenge us. He says, قَالَ رَبِّي أَنظِرْنِي لَيَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. Just give me the chance to live until the day of judgment. And I'll show you that this creation does not deserve what you said about them. So he's now challenging us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qatarahullah to see and prove this world, this creation is not worthy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And we need to prove him wrong. We have to prove him wrong. And we have to maintain, inshallah ta'ala, as much as we can, peace and tranquility in the house. How can we do that, and why do we have problems in the house? You know, when I do premarital counseling for the young couples before they get married or at the beginning of the relationship and so forth, I tell them that, for some of you perhaps you would say, Sheikh, I wish you came actually 10, 15 years ago, right? Or 20 years ago. But there's always, inshallah ta'ala, an improvement, room for improvement. I said, here's the thing. This is how marriage goes through. You have, once you start the process of getting married, you go through 5 major phases. These are the 5 major phases. SubhanAllah, ironically, I used to actually, I organized these 5 phases based on experience with many people and couples and so forth. And then I gave a few lectures on that. And then one day, one brother, he tells me, there is actually a website, a guy, he's some sort of counselor or a marriage therapist and so on. He has that on his website. So I went on his website and he wrote an article and he used my 5 points actually. And I said, subhanAllah, that's amazing. These 5 points are: number 1, whenever you start the process, the first phase, I call this, it's the in-love phase. The in-love phase is whenever you start now looking into getting married, you start have those beautiful feelings. Beautiful feelings. Even if you had a family traditional arranged marriage, the moment they tell you this is going to be your wife, you somehow start melting down. The moment they tell you this is going to be your husband, you say, oh mashallah. So they start feeling those beautiful feelings now that you're in love. And when the in-love phase, how do you present yourself in the in-love phase? You always present the best of you. Right or wrong, ya Jama'ah? You're not going to show the ugly part of you. You're not going to show the dark side, right? You always show the bright side. That's what you do. So you always show the best of you during this time. She will never see it. She will never see that until later. Same thing. You are not going to see from her until later. You realize, oh, that's the person, you know. A few years back, or a few weeks back, or whatever. That's the phase 1. And in the phase 1, basically, the person that you fall in love with is completely perfect. Completely perfect. So when in our society, the young ones, for example, now they took in their hand that they want to look for their own spouse. They don't want, to have the family involved with that, whatever. So they try to go and look for themselves. And then when they come, they want to fight their parents. They want to fight their parents to accept from them. They want to fight with them to say, listen, I want to marry her because I love her. And the father, of course, for him, okay, do your homework and come back, we'll talk about it later, inshallah. Never takes you seriously. Why? Because he knows it's just a phase. It's an in-love thing. And when you're in love, you just have everything perfect, subhanAllah. People, they get very obsessed about that they waste their energy on these kind of feelings. The second phase, when they get married, when they do their nikah, they're still in that same phase until they consummate their marriage. Once they have the wedding, once they have basically the rukhsati eventually, it's time for them right now to explore. This is called the honeymoon. It's exploration phase. In exploration phase, the first few months, everything is cute and beautiful and nice. Even the way he sneezes, the way she sneezes. Oh, this is so cute, mashallah. The way he brushes his teeth, the way he washes his cup, all that stuff is so cute. Just for a few weeks. That's called the exploration phase. And then during the exploration phase, that's when you guys start testing each other. It's a matter of test. That's why, unfortunately, our younger generation, because their boundaries are fluid. It's not like the older generation, they hold on to their marriage by tradition and culture. Meaning culture sets very strong boundaries and sacred meanings for marriage for them. It's not like the younger generation today. They have the first fight, oh, assalamu alaikum, khalas, I'm going to my family's house. And then fight for divorce. Why? What was the problem? I don't know, I just don't like him anymore. It's just like that. So simple, subhanAllah. And try to reason with them, what's the problem, what's going on, what's happening. Even though they're the most educated in terms of degrees, but when it comes to marriage and marital life, elementary. At elementary level, they have no clue how to communicate with someone of the opposite gender, in marriage. Unfortunately. Again, so the second phase is the honeymoon phase, which is the exploration phase. During the exploration phase, you test one another. And as you test one another, you just want to see how genuine your spouse is to you. Sometimes you rub them the wrong way. So just when you start testing them, you get the wrong answer. And that's why I keep telling the young couple, says, please don't test your couple, your love. Don't test your love, don't test your spouse in that fashion. Just stay genuine. Stay the way you are. And just be genuine to yourself first and foremost, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then later on to your spouse afterwards. But this is very important, you be genuine with Allah Azza wa Jal first and foremost. During this phase, when husband and wife get into a marital relationship, what do? Usually they have very high expectation. Very high expectation, which brings us to the third phase right now. The third phase, based on these high expectations, of course, and if I ask you that question right now, how many of you are married right now? Raise your hand if you're married. MashaAllah. Now, how many of you, those who raised their hands, how many of you guys had very nice, beautiful, amazing expectation for themselves, for their wife, for their marriage? Raise your hands if you had beautiful expectations. Almost everybody would have that expectation for their marriage. Now, how many of you believe that they met their expectation in the relationship? And don't worry, don't be afraid of your spouse. You guys met your expectations? Come on. What happens in the third phase? The third phase is, I call it actually the disappointment phase. Now you're saying, are you serious? We're going to be disappointed? Yeah, sure. But for good reason, inshallah. That disappointment is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. Because many new couples, particularly in our generation, and unfortunately when they come into marriage, they have so very high expectations, completely unrealistic. The guy, when I asked them, they come to me and say, Sheikh, could you help me find a match for myself? I said, okay, what are you looking for? He goes, I'm looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's looking for mashallah, for amazing qualities. The best cook, like, so for example, he needs a cook like Martha Stewart, for example. As beautiful as such and such model. This, that, all these qualities. And then when he gives me all the list, I say, mashallah, wallahi, this is an amazing description. Brother, if you find someone like this, please let me know, I want to marry her. So because it doesn't exist in reality. It's only photoshopped in your own mind, in your own brain. That's all. It's only photoshopped over here, and it doesn't exist except in Al-Jannah. So that's the description of women of Al-Jannah, mashallah. So if you truly find one like this, I'll kill you for her. But I know it's not going to happen that easy. And if it does, alhamdulillah, that's fine. But I would say, be realistic. People, they put so high expectations. Come to the ladies, many of them, they always want to marry someone who is more religious than they are. True or not, Jama'ah? Why do they want to have someone who's more religious than they are? So they can help them wake up for Fajr. They help them, fast Mondays and Thursdays. They help them, memorize the Quran. They help them wake up for Qiyamul Layl. They start fantasizing about religious, mashallah, environment in the house. And they will be disappointed. Because the next day in the morning, They wake up and the sun is already halfway to lower time. So eventually she tells him, what's happening? What happened? He tells her, I thought you were going to wake me up with Fajr. And then she will tell him, I married you to wake me up with Fajr. And they both dropped the ball. They both dropped the ball. Why? Because they threw their spiritual failure on someone else. Their own spiritual failure was thrown on someone else. You expect, because you have bad relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, that marriage has that marvelous, miraculous, magical formula that will fix all your spiritual problems instantly. Once you just get married, next day you wake up, mashallah, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala. And the woman, she will walk like Aisha radiallahu anha. And it doesn't happen, Jama'ah. You have to walk through your relationship, and you need to separate between what is your duty and your task as an individual, and then what's your spouse's task. What creates problem is when we start now throwing our problems on our spouses. And I have to admit that men are very clever at this issue. They're more than women, really. Women, they like to sacrifice. So even if men threw things on them, they'll accept it. Fine. It's my trouble. It's my fault. All right. Because the guy doesn't want to feel incompetent, particularly in front of his wife. Because if she tells him it's your fault and he says yes, that means what? You're good for nothing. And for him, he would never admit that. That's why 2 words are the most difficult words for a man. Do you guys know? In marriage, a community relationship. Ladies, you can tell me that. What are the most difficult 2 words for a man? What are they? I'm sorry. What is the other one? Huh? Well, thank you. They might say thank you. Especially if the food was good. No, it's the same thing. I'm sorry, I was wrong. My fault, the same thing. All of them the same thing. The other one is Jama'ah. It seems that doesn't cross even your mind, Allah understand. It's the word, I love you. 2 words are the most difficult for a man to say to his wife. Number 1 is I love you. Because for him, if I say I love you, that's commitment, Jama'ah. And they feel that the women, they're going to take this against them. Well, he said I love you the other day. Come on, that was 25 years ago. And it was by mistake, yani. But they know they're going to harass them because you said, I love you, therefore you're going to have to prove it. And men, they like to prove it through actions. That's it. So regardless how much you try, they will tell you, what do you think I'm doing anyway? That's a show of love. The work, the hard work, all the stuff and so on. And they do genuinely show love through action. Men are very practical in that regard. But women, they like to hear the word too. Now the other thing is that, I'm sorry, it's very hard to bring a man to admit his fault in front of his wife. Why? Because for him, she needs to look up to me. He's the qawwam, the leader, this and that and so on. My point is, because of these 2 things, we set our expectations so high, so high. So when we come to the reality of marriage and the reality of life, we fall a little bit short of these expectations. When you fall short between where you are and where you were hoping to be in your relationship in marriage, that gap between where you are and where you need to be, your expectation, what justifies criticism. As a matter of fact, that's what creates big problem in any situation in the family. In any situation in the family. Why is that? Here's the thing. In psychology, of course, whenever you set they say, even in leadership, we learn that whenever you set yourself for expectations, you're setting yourself for failure. If you set yourself for expectations, you are setting yourself for failure. Why is that? Because if you just keep expectations and you never take any action to make them happen properly, or at least you have no plan to get there with these expectations, you're going to always be disappointed. You will always be disappointed. And that's what happens in marital relationship. They set themselves for high expectations, but there is no plan to bridge the gap between where they are and where they need to be. They just leave everything for time. Time is going to get us there. So the man is waiting for his wife to take an action, and the woman is waiting for her husband to take an action. No one does that action, and everybody is waiting on the other to meet their expectation. As a result, they both will feel disappointed. How to defeat that? The reason why it's causing disappointment actually in the family and causing conflict between the husband and wife. I'll give you an example right now. If a man promises his wife that inshallah ta'ala next summer I'm going to send you off to your family, whether in the other city or another country. I'm going to set you up in shot to travel there in the summer and to enjoy your time. You made the promise, right? What does she do? She sets an expectation. Expectation in terms of what? Everything. You're going to buy the ticket. You're going to book the flights. You're going to make sure that we have an accommodation over there. You're not going to give us, inshallah, pocket, and change for the trip and all that stuff and so on. Every week and every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, someone is coming and approaching. The husband never talks about it. What does the woman start doing? Start doing what a man calls what? Nagging. Did you do anything about it? Well, I told you I'm going to send you, inshallah, in the summer. Khalas, don't say anything. Because for the man, I'll take care of it. Khalas, trust me. But for her, it's all based on expectation now. She's seeing no plans. Because our no plans are being executed here, she becomes now set to failure because of his expectations. Why? Expectations are so high, there's no plan to get her over there, she gets nervous. She gets nervous, she gets now actually basically anxious and anxiety. The man is not responding, he's not communicating, he's not clarifying things for her. That's becoming more and more and more, and eventually she becomes afraid. If she cannot overcome her fear, she gets upset, she becomes right now unbearable. And they start fighting over something that can be solved with one phone call. Okay, I booked the flight, khalas. It can be done easily. But because we don't plan things, unfortunately the Muslims, we have the best plan for the day. Allah Azza wa Jal planned your life for you. Everything. You wake up in the morning, you have a plan. What is your plan when you wake up in the morning? To pray Fajr. The moment you wake up, you start with your plan. What is it? The dua. Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amata wa yuhyi. Then you remember, wudu, because if I stay in bed, I'm going to fall asleep again. Bismillah, a'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim. You walk up to the bathroom. You make your wudu. Alhamdulillah, now you're fresh. You start with your sunnah, making dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you pray in the masjid, you pray at home, wherever you want to pray, and then eventually, set to go, right now you're going where? To work. And then you have that schedule in your mind. This is on daily basis. On weekly basis, Salatul Jum'ah, you need that community feeling. You cannot be alone. You're social beings. Allah will force you to come to Salatul Jum'ah. فَاسْعَوْا إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعِ. Come to pray Salatul Jum'ah. And then you have it on monthly basis, you have it on annual basis, and you have it once in your lifetime. Allah is designing everything and preparing everything for you, helping you plan your life so you could plan all your life around your religious duties. You need to do that. But when it comes to our marital life, unfortunately, we just expect that things will be okay. When I do marriage counseling for couples, one of the reoccurring theme and word that repeats between a husband and wife, why they keep fighting, because, well, I expected her, well, I was assuming, I was this, I said, well, this is the problem. Because you're expecting, you're assuming, you're all of stuff. So when you were expecting, did you guys discuss any plan how you're going to do this? Even the man, whenever you give your wife a promise, please, clarify it with some sort of, technical planning, so that she knows that everything is going to be taken care of. You want to look smart, guys? Then show it to her. Plan it for her, and eventually she will do that. Same thing with the ladies. Don't set your husband for expectation. If your husband said, okay, if you say, why don't we invite these people over, blah, 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 eventually, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to plan things. If ever you ask your husband for something, you need to plan for it. Eventually, if you leave things for expectation, you will be disappointed. Now, when it comes to disappointment in marriage, specifically the first 2 years are the most difficult years in marriage because exploration phase, expectation high. And now as you explore, you find new things that disappoint you. And if you keep holding it and you never really plan for the expectation to arrive at your expectations, you become so angry, so upset, you build resentment and unhappiness and so on. And that causes the people to move on to the fourth phase. The fourth phase in a marital relationship, which I call personally, after disappointment, I call adjustment. The adjustment or compromise phase. The young couple, different from the older generation. The older generation, again, like I said, because they have models they can copy from. They learn through observation. They used to see their uncles, their aunts, their brothers, their sisters, the older people in the community, and they would learn from them. In our culture here in America, our kids, since they're in middle school until they get married, most of their lives are around their friends. Most of their lives around their friends. Remember the day when you invited people over to come to your house? Where were the kids? Your kids and their kids, where were they? Whether in the backyard, or in the game room, or somewhere else, and so eventually they're not around the elders to learn and observe from them. I remember when we were younger, we used to serve the food for the guests. We used to bring the coffee, the tea, and get things out, in and out. And we used to sit down. I remember I used to sit down as a high school student. I used to sit down with my father when we have the family meeting. You're talking about 50, 60 people getting there. And just sit down and listen to what they're discussing. Sometimes it's nonsense. It's funny for us. But for them, you just learn from the elders how they communicate things. You show, subhanAllah, you learn from that. And when you get married, you have a treasure of experience. You might not necessarily use every single piece of that experience, but at least you have a wealth of experience and knowledge from which you can extract and perhaps use and filter as you move on in your life. Our younger generation, they don't have that. They don't have that experience. Where are they getting their ideas about marriage? Guess what? From Hollywood. From Hollywood. That's where they get it from. All what they see is this prince and this princess, they're getting married and they lived happily ever after. And there was never part 2 for that series. They only see part 1, which is the lovey-dovey side of it, that's all. But the part 2, Allah, when is it going to happen? You know, when people ask me the same thing about our children, if you ask your kids what is their most popular story, what would it be? Cinderella, all these Snow White, all that stuff and so on. What are these stories? They give false image of love and marital life. All what they see is something that's completely unrealistic. Not just in the Muslim life, even in non-Muslim life. They see this is all false. We're just building expectations. And that's why when women want to marry today, they would like to have big shadi hall, like the Maharaja style, and elephants outside, and all that stuff and so on. But they're building only a house, not necessarily a home. So the expectations are so high, and now you need to take one of 2 routes. The older generation, because of the wealth of experience, and they're surrounded by this tradition and culture and knowledge and respect of the elders and the family values and so on and so on and so on, they'll say no for divorce. So we're going to have to adjust to this. How do we do that? They have their own techniques. They have their own techniques of survival. And that's what explains many old marriages survive 30, 50 years, even though it wasn't that loving relationship. But they knew how to navigate through difficulty and the oceans and seas and problems that they're going to face and go through. Our new generation, they might have PhD degrees, master's degrees, you name these degrees. They have all of that stuff and education. When it comes to marriage, elementary. They don't have the navigation. That's why they decide to go for divorce, unfortunately, in many, many cases. Which explains why we have high divorce rate among the young ones. Because they cannot really resolve their conflicts. This phase is about compromise. I understand. My expectation is up here. And your expectation is up here. We're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle. We have to meet somewhere in the middle. When men and women, they start now headbutting, says, no, you come to my level, or you, and I would never compromise this and that and so on, that's when they eventually end with very tough relationship, if it survives. But what men and women, they desire the most, which would bring us to what I call the circle of conflict. It's actually devised by some marriage therapists, known as the cycle of marital conflict. What is that cycle of marital conflict? I'll ask you the question right now. For the guys and for the ladies, you guys tell me, what do women want the most in the relationship? If you want to give me in one word, don't answer right now. In one word, what do you think women they want in their marital relationship? Ladies, you discuss among yourself as well. What men want the most in a marital relationship? If you have one word, what exactly they want from their relationship? One word. You guys discuss with each other, with your neighbors. What is that thing that you think your wife or woman would desire the most to have in a relationship? And you ladies, I want you to bring me in one word, what do men want the most in the relationship? Bismillah. Go ahead. Let's see that. I'll give you 30 seconds for this. Go ahead.
Peace.
What
Peace,
comes
I
to
would say.
Come on, guys, discuss that. I want to see what do you have. Oh, is it that difficult? Come on, ya Jama'ah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I want you to refresh right now. Now, guys, you tell me, what do they want the most? What do you have here?
Happiness.
Happiness. I think men need happiness too, right? But there's something more than that. Appreciation. No, I'm talking about what women they want the most from the relationship. Let's see. So they have appreciation, respect, security, honesty,
Love.
affection, love, trust. Okay, hold on right now. Ladies, what do you think? What men want the most from their wives in the relationship? Respect. Subhanallah. They hit it immediately. In one shot, they got it. The guys are confused. No wonder they don't understand women, right? Everybody's saying, maybe respect, maybe love, maybe security. I'm not sure. Happiness? Allahu Alam. Let me try that one. Women, they know it. They know what men they keep hammering all the time. All what they want is ego, respect. A man, what he wants the most from his wife is respect. And what is respect for a man, Jama'ah? Respect for a man is that you prepare everything the way I want it to be. So when I come home and the house is not prepared or ready, what does that mean? You disrespect me. I work 10 hours outside. When I come back, I need peace, I need tranquility, I have all these toys around, the kids are yelling and so on. Just show respect to me. And the wife is just looking at me, what has this to do with respect? I didn't do that. These are kids. Instead of yelling and saying, why don't you just help me out and pick up that thing? Just help me out. So it's kind of confusing for men sometimes. The ladies, they figure it out. They know that men, they want respect. Now, to help you out, ladies, you tell me, what do you want, what do you desire the most from your husband? Let me see. What do you want? In one word, what is it? Huh? Service? Now they're getting confused, right? Actually, what women, they want the most, all what you guys said can be summarized in one word. Love. Even service is a show of love. Even service is considered a show of love for them. That's why whenever they fight, and the lady, she gets upset, she feels broken, and she leaves away, the husband chases her out, she says, honey, you know how much I love you. She says, you're lying. Because if you love me, then take the trash out. And for a guy, what has this to do with love, right? Trash and love doesn't, they don't come together in one equation. Simply, she doesn't mean, that trash is equal to love. No, you thinking about moving the trash out, oh my God, you saved me 10 minutes of my life. Of just trying to do that. That means you really love me. Why trash in particular, Jama'ah? Because men, they're always about efficiency. So whenever a man comes and opens a trash bin, and he feels it flowing, overflowing, what do men usually do? You have basically a box in your hand, you want to throw it away. You come, the trash can is full. What do you guys do?
Compact.
As men, what do you usually do?
Put it back.
Be realistic. You push down, right?
Yeah.
You create extra space, so you don't have to waste another bag, right? And then you throw that thing in, alhamdulillah, mashallah, amazing. And you move on. But then, when you want to pull that bag out, you're not gonna be able to do that. Why? Because it's stuck so much that it's heavy, so that when you try to pull it up, it's gonna break, and you're gonna throw everything on the floor, and you're gonna have to use 10 more bags just to pick up the trash that you mess up. For women, the moment it's trying to fill up, what do? They wrap it, take it out, bring a new one. But women, they want service as a show of love. Men, they need respect. Men, they need respect. So when a woman speaks, over his voice, for him, this is disrespect. When the food is not ready, that's disrespect. When he wants to sleep and she just keep talking, that's disrespect. When he wants, everything for him is disrespect. And for women, it's confusing. How is this disrespecting you, yeah? But for a man, it's disrespecting. You know, when I asked men to explain to women loving actions, I don't know how many of you took love notes with me. Anyone took love notes that we gave here in Richardson? My class, love notes. Anybody? No one. Oh my! You took love notes in Richardson. When I give the class love notes, and every single class I do actually on marital relations, I make a survey, and I ask the men and women to explain what is loving action for them. What are the loving actions for them? So, ironically, I said this is why we have a problem, because when you say you need respect the most, and women they say we need love the most, then you ask them to write down what are these loving actions you guys expecting from your spouse. It's kind of weird, because it doesn't really show the respect you're claiming that you're asking for the most. So for men, can you ladies guess what is the number one loving action a man is expecting from his wife? I asked the people to give me the top 5 loving actions, and believe it or not, the number one loving action was cooking good food. That's the number one loving action for men. They want from their wives to cooking good food. What has this to do with love? Women, this is a hateful action. For them, loving action means what, the Jama'ah? Take me to a restaurant. Bring food with you, carry out food, just bring it with you and so on. That's how you show love. So they contradict these feelings. Based on that, what I tell them is whenever you communicate, for the ladies, whenever you communicate love to your spouse or respect to your spouse, since you know that they need to respect the most, whenever you communicate respect to your husband, always communicate respect to them in ways that are meaningful to them, not to you. And for the guys, whenever you communicate love, what they say that they need the most, whenever you communicate love for them, you communicate that love in a way that is meaningful to them, not to you. The big problem is that, which creates a lot of conflict, is that when a man tries to show his love to his wife in a way that is meaningful to him. Like what? You go, for example, to Sears or any of these department stores, and you buy a very nice, expensive kitchen gadget. And you bring it to your wife, says, Masha, this is awesome, I brought this for you. She will tell you, no, you brought this for you. Because this is extra work right now, right? You want me to start using this stuff for you to enjoy new meals and new food and what's that thing. Instead, you need to go and buy something that is meaningful to them. Like what? Flowers, chocolate. And for a guy, flowers and chocolate is what? Waste of money. Are you serious? Flowers and chocolate? They're going to just wither and die in a few seconds. The chocolate is going to melt. Nobody's going to eat it. We always have chocolate. Ya akhi, it's not that it's meaningful to you. These things are meaningful to them. When they see that you bought that chocolate, and wallahi, guys, this is a secret between me and you. Don't let the ladies hear that. It doesn't have to be expensive chocolate. It just needs to be chocolate that they love. Even if you get it from Walgreens. Even if it was actually 2 for $2. Just get it and tell her, this is for you. She goes, why? Because I know that you love this chocolate, so I bought it for you. She would say, wow, mashallah, amazing. Such a beautiful gesture. Just don't tell her it's 2 for $2. Don't ruin it. Say, don't worry, it's cheap actually. So you ruin everything right away. Same thing, the ladies. Whenever you communicate respect to your husband, don't try to communicate that respect in a way that is meaningful to you. You need to show it in a way that is meaningful to him. Now the question is, how do I know what is meaningful to him or meaningful to me? Can you guys tell me? How can you find out what is loving to your wife that is meaningful to her versus meaningful to me? What is the best way of doing that?
Asking.
Huh? Asking. Very simple. Which is the last thing we usually do in our conversation. Because once we start talking, we start fighting. Why? Because we don't have the etiquette, we don't have the knowledge of how to communicate with our spouse without fighting. The man, he dreads the moment when he asks his wife, what's going on? Because for him, what's going on means what is a man? Means a list of demands and then all that stuff, and then bringing all the dirty laundry from the past and for him. I don't want that right now. I'm not ready for it. And for the lady, she dreads reminding her husband about something he's supposed to have done 10 days ago. Because that's like committing suicide. Because I told you, I'm going to do it. Yeah, but that was 10 days ago. And subhanAllah, regardless how much you remind men, it seems to be, that's natural for men. That's why she tells you, don't forget to bring the salt with you. Just bring this one and this one. Still, the man, when he goes to bring the salt, he calls his wife, which one did you say? Well, there are many of them over here. So I told you. And I told you to do that. Why? Because when you call her to ask her about it, you're bringing more stress to her. And you're thinking that you're doing it out of love because you don't want to make a mistake and bring the wrong one. Well, you should have actually listened the first time to show me love. They don't have to call me again to tell me which one do you want. It's always in that fashion. Whenever you communicate love, you need to communicate love in a way that is meaningful to your spouse, not meaningful to you. Don't do that. Do it again in a way that is meaningful to your spouse. The best way of figuring out what is meaningful to them is wallahi simply by asking. Just ask. Of course, women even they love to have their husband, even more clever and ahead of their game. Which means what is the man? They don't have to ask. Or you don't have to ask. They need you to know, just to smell, sense that I need that. And that's when they go, oh, subhanAllah, he's amazing. I don't have to say anything. He understands everything right away. But men usually, they have this conversation, which is again, the only way of communicating with your spouse. When your wife starts talking, the other day when we had to do this and that and so on, and the guy's saying, okay, yeah, all right. He's not getting it here. And that's what kills women. Like when your wife calls you and she says, I was so tired, subhanAllah, I don't know, I woke up in the morning, the kids did this and that, I just could not even cook right now, I still have to do this. And you're just saying, it's okay, that's fine, inshallah, I know you can do it. And the woman is, Allahu Rabbi. She's not getting the point, right? What is the point? They just say, don't worry about it, I'll come and pick you up, we'll eat outside, inshallah. Wallahi, even if you say that, she will tell you, Jazakallah khair, don't worry, I'll do something inshallah quick at home, I don't have to worry about anything. Why? Because she's happy. At least I have someone who understands. She doesn't have to go out to eat, but because she wants to do the thing that you love, and that you eat from her food. But at the same time, she needs to see that you really understand. That's what they want the most. The love in a way that is meaningful to them. So when they say about service, understanding, caring, everything, this is how they really understand love in these ways. Now, we'll bring inshallah ta'ala to the last phase. The last phase of in the marriage, basically, I would say phases. The last phase is what I call autopilot. The autopilot is basically after you come to the adjustment phase. You start compromising here, compromising there, getting this high on this and then low on this, until you meet at a very, very common ground. Once you get there, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, khalas, you come to the point of understanding one another, then you start running smooth. You don't have to do anything. It just runs smooth, which keeps marriage, alhamdulillah, going smooth. However, expect bumps on the way. It's not going to always be so smooth. You might have to go through some hurricane in the middle. Whether you go away or you go through, right? If you go through, it's going to be really bumpy. But if you try to go away, it's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to take more effort from you, spend more money, more fuel, more energy, but it's going to get you safer. It's going to get you safer. Most men, they think they're smart enough to go through. And that's when they get into trouble. And when you go through a huge storm, that storm can be extremely dangerous for the ride and for the flight. So you have to be clever and smart to make a decision. Is that a small storm that I can navigate through easily with some bumps? Or is it a big one that I have to go away, divert some of my stuff to somewhere else, go do something else, land temporarily, whatever you want to do. Eventually, you need to be smart. Once you get to the autopilot, alhamdulillah, you would know exactly how to deal with your situation. And bi'idhnillah azza wa jalla, it becomes smooth until you meet your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, these phases are fluid, which means every now and then they usually come in cycles, by the way. in marriage, they come in cycles. Are you familiar with the mid-age crisis? You know, ladies, when suddenly all of a sudden your husband who's 50-something years old, next day he comes from work, he's riding a motorcycle. And it says, what's going on? Are you okay? So, no, just trying to live my life, Annie. I said, but don't you think it's a little bit early for this right now? Late, of course, it is. But eventually, sometimes, yeah, people, they go in cycles in the relationship. And that's why when men and women, they start getting into trouble. When a man starts thinking of marrying a second one. So what's wrong with you? He's now going into the cycle again. And that's when the wife, she starts seeing that her marital relationship becomes a routine. Because they never took a break to fill. They always just kept going and going and going and going, never get the chance to refuel their energy and their love together. When it comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I mentioned a few stories about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His marital life was the ideal marital life. Ideal in a sense that it wasn't problem or conflict free. No, ideal in a way that we learn from his techniques of solving these problems. Just like I said, when women, they love the husband or the man who understands them well without even saying a word, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that man to Aisha radiallahu anha. She said, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was also the same to his wife. She said, قال Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told her, salawatullah wa salam alayhi, Wallahi, inni la a'lamu mata anti alayya radiya wa mata takun alayya ghadma. He said, I know when you're satisfied with me, and I know also when you're not satisfied with me. I would know that. And that's, of course, what all women want to hear from their husband, right? Because you sense it. He said, no. He said, when you're happy with me, when you're satisfied with me, you always say, La wa Rabbu Muhammad. I swear by the Lord of Muhammad. And when you're unhappy with me, you would say, La wa Rabbu Ibrahim. No, by the Lord of Ibrahim. She doesn't mention the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But she said to him, again to show her love to her husband, she said, Wallahi ma ahjuru illa isma. He said, listen, I only avoid your name. Which means your love is there. But I try to avoid your name at that moment. That's natural. It does happen. These things do happen actually. The same thing. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had just like in the women, just like in any other marriage and other relations, they always love to see improvement in their marital relationships, in their lives. So one of the ways of improvement is decorations, changing furniture, buying new things, stuff like that and so on, which demands what? Extra money. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had to deal with that. He had to deal with that. Every time a new wealth comes from some of these surrounding areas, then they bring all the treasures to the masjid. They didn't have a treasury back there or banks, so they bring everything to the masjid and they leave guards over there, like Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala. So they leave the guards over there, and when the women, they hear that, oh, subhanAllah, they got the treasures of Bahrain. They come to Rasulullah. I heard that something came from Bahrain. And he's for her is, so, what do you want? What do you mean by that? He goes, so, at least we need something. Can't you give us something more? He said, didn't you get your provision for the year? Because that's what the Prophet used to do. He used to divide their provision for the entire year. And he gives them everything ahead of the year. So this is your wealth, this is your money, this is your food, this is all the stuff for the year. Deal with it. Manage it yourself. But every now and then they want some house improvement, right? Everybody's going to be taking their share. What about us? And Rasulullah says, this is not my money. I can do that. This is for the ummah, for the community. But still they thought that they can take more. And they kept going that and doing that. And sometimes Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar would hear their daughters' voices, raising their voices against the Prophet ﷺ, that they come in. And that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar, so the moment they say their parents or their fathers coming in, they immediately start running away from them. تَعَالَنَا يَا عَدُوَّاتِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Come over here. Such an enemies to yourselves. Come over here. The father, he wants, of course, to chastise and school his own daughter. Rasulullah, he's the one who started them. He said, let's leave him. It's all right. It's okay. I'll take care of this. Leave him for me. And sometimes Rasulullah would be sitting there, and his whole women surrounding him, asking, demanding more money. That one of these occasions, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, he came in. The moment he came in, the women, they covered themselves and they kept quiet. So when they kept quiet, as they were just a few seconds away, they were just raising their voices in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Umar, he said, قَالَ يَا عَدُوَّاتِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Such an enemies to yourselves. Look at you. You're raising your voice in front of the Prophet ﷺ. The moment I come in, you just stay quiet, which means you don't have respect to Rasulullah ﷺ, and you show me that respect. But Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha, she gave him the answer. She goes, so listen, Rasulullah ﷺ, he's very kind and gentle. You're a rude man. Which means we can deal with you. You are just something else, yani. Radiallahu ta'ala anhu, of course, yani, she threw that rock on him almost, and he had to go away. Not physical rock, but that statement, yani. It just hit him and they had to leave. Eventually, even Rasulullah, he had to deal with that. And sometimes he would deal with it, yani, he would get to the maximum. There is a roof for him that he can tolerate these things. But at some point, he's going to have to take an action. One of these actions, which is the story I would like to end with, inshallah ta'ala, is that the action when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his wife said, kept, complaining, they want more, and finally Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he swore by Allah azza wa jalla sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ala minhunna shahra. He gave an oath that he is not going to approach them for an entire month. Basically, he was boycotting them. What women they call it the silent treatment. When the husband, you come and you talk to your husband, he's just making a big show out of it. He's making a big fit, just staying quiet. So are you going to eat with us? So are you going to eat with us? He doesn't want to talk. It's just like the silent thing. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he physically did that. Basically, he withdrew from the house of Aisha and the other house of his wife sallallahu alaihi, and he stayed in the loft. They had a loft above the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. And there's a stair that leads to the masjid. He was in that loft. When Umar al-Khattab heard the news that Rasulullah طلق أزواجه, he divorced all his women, he freaked out because of his daughter, Hafsa. So he went straight to his house, to Hafsa's house, and she was weeping and crying. Because what happened? What happened there? She goes, well, I don't know. Did he divorce you? I don't know. And he kept telling his daughter, I said, I told you, don't act like Aisha. Aisha, she can do things and she can get away with it. You cannot. Eventually, that didn't help her either. They had to go out. So he went to look for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he finds Bilal guarding the stairway to the loft. And the hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, by the way. So then Bilal was guarding the stairs for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Umar said, why don't you ask permission from me? I want to talk to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Bilal went up to seek permission for Rasulullah, he said, I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam leaning on his side. He was reclining on his arm, and he was just resting there, quiet, which most men like to do when they're upset. They just want to withdraw in their own cave, and just don't bother me right now. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was now there. Bilal said, Ya Rasulullah, Umar wants to talk to you. And guess what was the answer that the Prophet gave to Bilal? Can you guess? The answer was nothing. Silent answer. Again, the silent treatment. So Bilal, after some time, that means the Prophet was really, really upset. That's what it means. So Bilal comes down, he said, I told him, but he said nothing. So Umar got nervous. He said, but he sat down. After some time, he said, I couldn't take it anymore, so I went back to Bilal. Can you try to seek permission again? Maybe the Prophet cooled down right now. So then he went up, he said, Ya Rasulullah, Umar bilbab. Umar is asking for permission. The Prophet just remained silent. Means I'm not ready for that now. Leave him alone. So he came back, says, I told him, he just remained quiet. Now Umar is freaking out right now. This is very serious. This never happened before. So he said for a longer period of time, and then finally he came back to Bilal and says, okay, now try to seek permission. Maybe, it's getting easier now. So finally when he said, Ya Rasulullah, Umar bilbab, then the Prophet ﷺ says, okay, let me in. Umar now comes in and he's very worried and very anxious. Doesn't know what to expect. So when he saw the Prophet ﷺ in that position, he kind of felt a little bit uneasy, so he didn't sit down. He kept standing and he said, Qala Ya Rasulullah. He started trying to kind of like an icebreaker. Saying, Ya Rasulullah, when we used to be in Medina, when we used to be in Mecca, the Qurayshi women, our women, they were, mashallah, they were just very obedient, very submissive. Whenever you say something, they never respond, they never answer back to you. But when we came to Medina, the Ansari women are more, outspoken. So the other day I was talking to my wife, and my wife, she learned from the Ansari women. It seems to be she was learning from them. The other day I was talking to my wife, and she answered back. And for Umar was like a major sin. like answering back. Again, that was culture of Mecca, and this was the culture of Medina. The Medinan women are stronger. Indeed, they were. And there are so many hadith shows how women, they used to ask questions. Even Aisha, she said about him, قال رحم الله نساء الأنصار. May Allah have mercy on the Ansari women. ما منعهن الحياة ويتفقهن في الدين. Even shyness and bashfulness never stopped them from learning their deen. They will ask questions. Even one woman, she asked, when the Prophet was asking about the blood, basically the Prophet ﷺ, he told her, she asked, Ya Rasulullah, what do we do with this blood? It's a kind of very embarrassing question. The Prophet ﷺ says, eventually, تأخذ قطنة وتطهر بها. You take a piece of cotton or a cloth and just purify yourself with that. So the woman, she said, how? Now, kind of a very awkward question, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he became so shy, he blushed, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, قَالَ تَطَهَّرِي بِهَا. She said, Ya Rasulullah, how? And the Prophet says, Subhanallah, تَطَهَّرِي بِهَا. Just purify yourself, which means you should know better. Then she didn't stop until Aisha, she pulled her aside. She says, قَالَ تَتَبَّعَ بِهَا أَثَرَ الدَّمِ. That's it, just follow the trace of the blood and should be fine. So even the Ansari women, they're actually very strong. So here's Umar, he's saying, Ya Rasulullah, the other day I was talking to my wife, and she answered back. So of course today this is my way, alhamdulillah. We went way beyond that right now. But eventually, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in response to that, he smiled. Which means what? He said, yeah, I know what you're saying, man. Which means we're all in the same boat. I know what you're talking about. When Umar saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiling, he said, I felt comfortable. I sat down. Then, after that awkward silence, I turned to Rasulullah and he said, قَالَ أَطَلَّقْتَ نِسَاءَكَ. Did you divorce them? The Prophet says, no. I just, I'm staying away from them for a month. That's called al-ila in the fiqh. Al-ila. So he vowed, it's mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصَ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ. So that the maximum is 4 months. After 4 months, if you don't reconcile with your wife, that's divorce, or you'll be forced into divorcing. So eventually, when Rasulullah ﷺ did that month, after a month, or basically 29 days. You guys know that the month usually, the Arabic month or the lunar month is 29 or 30 days. So that month was 29 days. Rasulullah ﷺ comes down. Khalas, he's now done with that silent treatment. Where do you expect him to go first? Which house would he choose first? Aisha. He goes to the house of Aisha. If a husband fights with his wife, he gets upset, he moves out of the house. He goes driving around everywhere, and then he goes to Austin, comes back again, and then on the way he just brings a cup of coffee with him, that's all. He comes into the house. He cooled down, he listened to the news, then he found out that his problem is much easier than the world's problems. Alhamdulillah, let's not worry, and don't have to worry about that stuff. He comes back home right now. What do you expect your wife to do when you come back home? After, you fight with your wife, and you told her, I'm leaving, I'll be back later, blah, blah, blah. After 3 or 4 hours, you leave. The wife in the house, miskina, she will be just many hundred tons of thoughts coming to her mind. So is he going to go? Is he going to commit suicide? Is he going to divorce me? Is he going to do this? She goes through all of this, when all what he's doing is having a cup of coffee. Then when he comes back, he's cool right now. What do you expect him to do? He expects his wife as what? He expects his wife to smile, say, I'm sorry, oh, I didn't mean that, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? That's what most men, they want their wife to do. They show me respect now. Did you learn their lesson? That's what they want, right? Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, the moment the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came in, she told him, قالت, she basically said, well, after 29 days, she said, well, the month is not over yet. You vowed for 1 month. The month is not over yet, which means if you're that upset, why don't you stay for another day up there? Now for a man to hear his wife answering like this, after all this whole episode, what does that mean to them? They didn't learn the lesson, right? Yeah. You could just, close the door and say, Assalamu alaikum, I'm leaving. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bi-abi huwa ummi. How gentle, how kind, how loving this man was, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. He just said to her, قَالَ الشَّهْرُ هَكَذَا. A month can be like this, and she was 29 days, and it can also be like this, 30 days. Which means this one was 29 days, she just better be quiet. Ahsan. Let's move on with our lives right now. My point here is that even Even this most beautiful man, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, and even his household, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, was not conflict-free. If you want to learn how to navigate through these problems, wallahi, you will have no one better than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the best thing to do, my recommendation to solve these problems, inshallah ta'ala, number one, if you ever have an issue between you and your spouse, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. When you have a conflict over anything, the best point of reference to solve these problems is to Allah and His Messenger. Is that something halal that you're asking me to do or not? Is that something that I have to do or not? Is that something? So refer it to Allah and His Messenger. You don't have the answer for it? Guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ أَن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Then ask the experts. Ask the ulama. The alim, the imam is not necessarily, it's not his expertise or field. Guess what? I have a lot of marriage therapists, counselors, this, that, whatever. But you just need to ask the expert to see if this is my duty, my obligation, your duty, your obligation, and so on. Number two, An-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ma kana ar-rifqu fi shay'in illa zana, wa ma nuzi'a minhu illa shana." Ar-rifq, which means leniency, kindness. Ma kana fi shay'. You cannot find leniency in anything, but it enhances it, makes it more beautiful. And if you take leniency away from it, it makes it rough and rude. So when you speak with rifq and leniency, it brings miracle. If you speak with roughness and rude, so on and so on, it doesn't really bring to you what you expect of happiness and tranquility and peace. Maybe you win the battle, but you lose the war. You will lose the war in that house. So you're going to win that battle, she's going to basically be quiet. Same time, some of the ladies, you might win the battle with your husband. Because you just try to use the time frame or whatever, eventually he breaks down, whatever, take it, do it. You won a battle, but overall you're going to lose the entire war and battleground eventually, which is the house. So you never have a home, you're only going to have a house. Next to that, there's something called al-adl, justice, and something called al-fadl, virtue. Adl and fadl. Whenever it comes to seeking, my rights and obligations between husband and wife, you're entitled to your adl. What is fair and just to you. There is no doubt about it. If you ask what is just and fair to you, no one can really complain about this. No one has the right even to object to that. That's fairness and justice. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to go beyond adl into fadl, which means virtue. That means you need to somehow, give in. You need to give in and drop some of your rights for the benefit of everybody. The family, the house. Yeah, I understand. This might, but eventually, fine. I'll allow you to do this. Well, yeah, maybe let's say your wife, she wants to go and visit a friend, or maybe there's a wedding happening there and so and so. SubhanAllah, even though it's your time, it's going to be on a weekend that you need to be at home, whatever. But you know what? Out of kindness between you and your spouse, this is the time she needs to spend with her family or with her friends. Go ahead, Bismillah, go for it. But if you ever allow your wife to go and enjoy her time with friends and family, please don't bug her and bother her over the phone. Because sometimes women, they hate that. You know what? I wish I didn't go to this wedding. Because within 2 hours, he would call and text 1,000 times. So where are the spoons? How about the cups? Where's the milk? Where's this? Where's that? Allahu musta'an. You just cannot live 2 hours without his spouse, subhanAllah. There is a level of adl. There's no doubt about it. But use al-fadl. And the fadl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Even in times of divorce, it says, إِلَّا أَنْ يَعْفُونَ أَوْ يَعْفُوَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ. You are entitled to what you deserve in terms of fairness and justice. However, Allah says, إِلَّا أَنْ يَعْفُونَ, unless you forgive, which means you forfeit some of your rights, أَوْ يَعْفُوَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ, or the other party, they forfeit their rights. And then he said, وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Never forget about the virtue and the good times you spend together. Never forget about that. That's the virtue. So, yes, you might ask for adl, for justice, but sometimes it's better for you to forfeit some of your rights for the benefit of everybody, inshallah ta'ala. Finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. And those who restrain and control their anger. Many marriages were broken because of unfortunate, uncontrolled anger. And for me, honestly, every anger can be controlled. If you really prepare yourself and educate yourself, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said that, بِأَبِي هُوَ وَأُمِّي. That's not my words. These are the words of Rasulullah. He said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمِ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. Knowledge comes through education. وَإِنَّمَا الْحِلْمِ بِالتَّحَلُّمِ. And forbearance, which means patience, controlling your anger, comes through at-tahallum, which means training. So you can control your anger. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. And those who forgive the people. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And Allah loves those who always do things with ihsan, which means with perfection. So whatever you do in your relationship, hopefully inshallah ta'ala maintain these rules bidnillahi azza wa jal. And remember that whenever you communicate with your spouse, always communicate love and respect to one another in a way that is meaningful to them, not necessarily to you. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.